Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Janusz Lewicki. 31 people, including children, have been injured in overnight Russian airstrikes on the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. At the same time, Russian forces attacked Kharkiv with ballistic missiles and heavy artillery, injuring at least 6, including one elderly person. According to the head of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Military Administration, Serhiy Lysak, in addition to the strike on Dnipro, the Russians also struck Pokrovskoye in the Nikopol district. The strike damaged local infrastructure, a shop, a pharmacy, and sparked a fire. According to official information, nobody was harmed in the attack. However, this may change as damage is still being assessed. At the same time, Russian forces attacked Kharkiv. According to Kharkiv's mayor, Ihor Terechov, guided bombs hit the Saltivsky and Kyivsky districts of the city, damaging houses, garages, and sparking multiple fires. Due to Russian shelling, the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant in southern Ukraine, the largest in Europe, has been disconnected from the grid. In his nightly address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said, and I quote, "No other terrorist in the world has ever allowed himself to do to a nuclear power plant what Russia is doing now." The International Atomic Energy Agency says it is in contact with both Moscow and Kyiv to restore offsite power to the facility. The power plant is currently offline, but still needs outside power to maintain essential control and cooling functions.
For the 7th day now, and by the way, there has never been such a thing before. There has been an emergency at the Zaporizhzhia Nuclear Power Plant. The situation is critical. Due to Russian shelling, the plant has been disconnected from the power grid. It is supplied with electricity from diesel generators. This is extraordinary. The generators and the plant are not designed for this. They have never worked in this mode for so long. And we already have information that one of the generators has failed. It is the Russians who are preventing the repair of the power grid lines to the plant and the restoration of basic security through shelling. And this is a threat to absolutely everyone. No other terrorist in the world has ever allowed himself to do to a nuclear power plant what Russia is doing now.
Finland will send a military unit specializing in identifying and neutralizing drones to Denmark, said Finnish Prime Minister Petteri Orpo. The decision was approved on Tuesday by President Alexander Stubb and is a response to Denmark's request for help amid unidentified drone sightings. According to Finnish Defense Minister Antti Hakanen, Finland already has vast experience in dealing with various types of UAVs. The unit sent by Helsinki will come under Danish command, and the entire operation will be led by Danish authorities. As per the Finnish Prime Minister, the unit has authorization to use force until mid-October. The deployment comes after last week's incidents involving drones flying over airports in Copenhagen and Aalborg, as well as over Danish military installations. Poland is also sending troops to Copenhagen at Danish request to support the Nordic country in providing security to two events: the EU Leaders Informal Summit and the Summit of the European Political Community. The European drone wall is to be discussed in Copenhagen during Wednesday's European Council meeting and Thursday's European Political Community Summit. This is according to TVP World guest and acting director of the Institute of Innovation and Technology, Michał Matlak, who lifted some of the veil around the concept.
One of the key aspects of the system is to be able to distinguish between kind of more dangerous and less dangerous drones, and not to be not to need to send kind of F-35, for example, to fight these drones, but to use kind of cheaper methods. And the idea of the Commission, the idea that was prepared by Commissioner Kubilius, is to kind of to Europeanize this problem, kind of not to concentrate on kind of on national capacities, but to organize a system for all, especially eastern flank countries.
According to flight tracking data, the United States has deployed a P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft to Norway. The anti-submarine warfare, surveillance and intelligence gathering plane will be carrying out missions close to Russian territory in the Baltic Sea. According to open source intelligence, the United States deployed 2 or 3 aircraft to Gardermoen airport in Oslo. According to the spokesperson for the Norwegian Armed Forces Operational Command, the aircraft are there to support NATO operations in the region. Flight tracking data indicates that one of them already flew a mission near Russia's Kaliningrad region. Kaliningrad is one of Russia's key military hubs in northeastern Europe, bordering Poland and Lithuania, both NATO members. Volodymyr Zelenskyy, last name withheld under applicable privacy laws, a Ukrainian diver wanted by Germany over his alleged involvement in the Nord Stream 2 pipeline explosions, was detained in Poland yesterday. According to Polish prosecutors, they are now waiting for their German counterparts to transfer relevant documents to Warsaw, which will determine whether he will be extradited from Poland.
Ukrainian citizen Volodymyr Zelenskyy was detained in the Prushkov area. He was wanted under a European arrest warrant issued by the authorities in Germany in connection with suspected sabotage, property damage, and the destruction of infrastructure, namely the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. The next steps to be taken by the Polish prosecutor's office include petitioning the district court in Warsaw for temporary 7-day detention in order to obtain the relevant documentation from the German side translated into Polish. As Polish authorities, we are not here to assess whether someone is guilty or not. It is not binding for us whether someone admits or does not admit guilt. We only assess whether there are grounds to initiate extradition proceedings for such a person based on the laws in force on Polish soil.
Czech President Petr Pavel has opposed claims that the upcoming parliamentary elections are intended to bring a change to the country's democratic system. In a televised address last evening, the Czech leader said that the purpose of the elections is to confirm or change the government's policies. Pavel added that currently the Czech Republic needs a cabinet that will, first and foremost, ensure the country's security and protect its sovereignty.
The purpose of the elections is to confirm or change the government's policy in an open and transparent political competition. I must therefore strongly reject the words of some politicians that this year's elections are supposed to bring about a change in the system. Our democratic system is enshrined in the Constitution. If someone claims that it should be removed after these elections, then they despise democracy and our Constitution. We need a government that will continue to ensure our country's security. We have this today thanks to our firm anchoring in the European Union and, above all, in the strongest defense alliance in the world, NATO. We need a government that will protect our sovereignty in the community of democratic countries and not leave us at the mercy of Russia and its efforts to re-establish a sphere of influence in Central and Eastern Europe. This would have a fundamental impact on our freedom, security, and economic prosperity.
The Czech Republic will hold parliamentary elections on the 3rd and 4th of October, a vote that will shape its political direction and EU stance. The centre-right Spolu coalition, led by Prime Minister Petr Fiala, faces its main rival, the populist ANO party of ex-Prime Minister Andrej Babiš. Spolu backs the European Union, NATO and fiscal discipline, while ANO is NATO skeptical and opposes higher defence spending. Polls show ANO at 30% and Spolu at 21%, with other parties splitting the rest. Since no party nears a majority, coalition talks or a minority government will be needed after the elections. In a recent interview with TVP World, the 5th president of Georgia, Salome Zurabishvili, said that she has no expectations regarding the upcoming elections in her country. Zurabishvili argued that ever since the ruling Georgian Dream Party won the presidential elections, its control over government bodies, such as the Electoral Commission, has been absolute.
Those pseudo-elections are held after we've had last year's parliamentary elections, which, as we all know, were under very serious interference by Russia and very serious manipulation, both by local authorities and Russian technologies of different kind. A little bit what we have seen now in Moldova, and now our partners discovered that what we were saying was so completely true. And so the situation since then, since the parliamentary elections, has only deteriorated in terms of legislation and control, total control by the ruling party over the Electoral Commission and everything that you need for decent elections.
Central and Eastern European countries are facing up to 1,000 times more cyber attacks and disinformation than their Western EU counterparts. This is according to Friso Roskam-Abing, the new head of the Brussels office of the European Union's Agency for Fundamental Rights, the bloc's key agency responsible for investigating breaches of basic freedoms and rights in the 27 member states. More now from our EU correspondent Angela Skujins in Brussels.
Countries such as Slovakia, Hungary and Poland are facing an unprecedented amount of cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns. And these forms of aggression are having a real impact on the lives of those there, particularly around how they access government information, head to the ballot box and use infrastructure. This is according to Friso Roskam-Abing, the new head of the Brussels office for the European Union's Agency for Fundamental Rights. He sat down with TVP World to explain the extent of the problem in Poland.
In Central East European states who were linked to the Soviet Union, the countries behind the so-called Iron Curtain, seen from Western Europe, that they are facing 1,000 times more cyber attacks or disinformation grounds than others would face. So they are under even more pressure of the negative impact of disinformation than other member states in the European Union are as well.
Poland's Deputy Minister for Digital Affairs, Dariusz Standerski, said earlier this month that Poland's critical infrastructure, such as hospitals and utilities, face up to 50 cyber attacks every day. This has led to the shutdown of airports and some Polish citizens having their medical data stolen. Abing, however, pointed out that disinformation campaigns can be equally as damaging as it impacts how individuals access information and trust the institutions meant to service them. Angela Skujins from Brussels for TVP World.
In the United States, the federal government has shut down for the first time since 2018 after Congress failed to pass a new budget before the midnight deadline. The White House instructed agencies to implement shutdown plans after the Senate rejected a short-term funding bill backed by Republicans in the House of Representatives. The deadlock stems from disputes over healthcare subsidies, with Republicans insisting on a clean extension and Democrats demanding reversals of budget cuts. According to the Congressional Budget Office, around 750,000 workers face forced leave each day, though essential staff such as the military, the FBI and the TSA remain on duty. The last shutdown under Trump in 2018 lasted a record 35 days. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching and please stay with us here on TVP World.